Welcome back to another edition of the Educational AD Podcast. We couldn't do these without the incredible support of our sponsors, and we want to start by saying thank you to all of them. First, thanks to our diamond sponsor, Varsity Brands, including BSN, Varsity Spirit, and Herff Jones. Varsity Brands, elevating student experiences in sport, spirit, and achievement. We also want to thank our platinum sponsors, including Ephesus Lighting, innovating a brighter future at every level. Gilman Gear, always a step ahead. Camp Mobile, where leaders communicate better. Hometown Ticketing, simple and easy online ticketing. Vital Signs, bring student achievements to life. And Gipper, sports graphics made incredibly simple. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. Today, our guest is Kristin Peeples. Kristin is the athletic director at Nature Coast Technical High School in Brooksville, Florida, and someone I've spent a lot of time with at the state level with our FHSAA State Assembly, as well as Athletic Director Advisory Committee. Kristin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me today. I greatly appreciate it and look forward to a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been wanting to get you on for a while. Well, as you know, the life of an AD is very busy these days, so we're going to jump right into it. We always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, where you went to college, and how your love of sports led to this career in athletic administration.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Florida, so I am glad to be back in Florida. I've been to various places, but I was in West Palm Beach, and I grew up around a mother that was in education as an administrator. So I kind of had that background from the beginning. From there, we moved to Gainesville, and I attended Buchholz High School, and I played soccer and softball for Buchholz and really enjoyed doing that. When I was there, we actually went to the state playoffs in soccer, the Final Four, which was kind of cool to experience that, for my personal self. So from there, I did go on to an NAIA school, Lee College. It's now Lee University, and a Division II school. And I played soccer and started playing softball there, but due to an injury had stopped. So that was kind of exciting, getting to do those kind of things, being around athletics from an athlete standpoint. I also, while I was there, I actually spent my last semester in England abroad. So that is what really led me to want to do something where I was overseeing something in athletics. I didn't really know what it was going to be at the time, but we were able to participate in this course. It was like an outdoor course type of thing with rock climbing, and we did some team building, and it was great. And the lessons that you learn in athletics and the lessons that I learned there tied in so much that at that point that I really had that desire to do something that was overseeing a program, whether it was coaching or an athletic administrator. I wasn't really sure at the time, but I knew I wanted to do something of that nature. So from there, I graduated and went to Charleston, South Carolina, and was teaching at an elementary school and began coaching at a high school over there, and Wando High School. And that is where I started my coaching career. I was fresh out of college, very young, very inexperienced. I learned a whole lot. I learned a lot about the other side of athletics, the parents, actually teaching things. And I believe that really helped me build who I am today, though. From there, I went on to the United States Sports Academy in Alabama for a master's in sports management. As I'd said, that was something I always wanted to do, and then had that opportunity. That led me to a graduate assistant position with the University of Missouri in their softball program. And that is where I really learned the organization, the communication, building relationships. I mean, that took it to a whole nother level for me. And after that, I was able to come back to Florida. I was able to be here at Nature Coast. I was a softball coach here, began the program. And then I landed a job in Illinois at Trinity Christian College as the softball coach there. My first head coach, that was a head coaching position at the college, and was able to kind of develop a lot of skills and build on what I had already learned. And due to some family things, I ended up coming back to Florida after 2 years. And I will never regret that, because that's when I landed the job as the athletic director here, coming back to Nature Coast under my current principal, Tony Ann Noyes, who was the assistant principal when I was here before. So that has been my experience, how I got to where I am as an athletic director. And since being here, in 2019, I completed my master's in educational leadership from St. Leo. That has to do with a lot of my principal pushing me to, do more, be more involved, keep growing. So that's kind of my background and where I'm at right now. So.
Well, it's always great to hear those stories and the paths that we all take. I certainly enjoyed my time as a college coach. I didn't know that you were at Trinity, though. That's very cool. Kristin, you kind of led into our next topic. In our profession, we always talk about the importance of leading and mentoring. And I'm always curious, who are some of your mentors, either coaches that you had or maybe people that you worked with or worked for? The expression I like to use is, I still hear the voices of those mentors for me in my head when I'm talking with kids or coaches or parents. So whose voices do you still hear?
Absolutely. I have to say, though, I think about mentors. I believe that they change and they develop throughout our life. Yes, there are still some that I remember from a young age, mainly my parents, who have been great mentors for me, really taught me, ethics, values, those kind of things. And I can think of many people that have really helped me grow, both personally and professionally. But when I think about this and how that I've developed as an AD, the mentors that I really think of is my current principal, like I said, Mrs. Noyes. Her guidance to see things as overall as a big picture, as opposed to just a partial part of it. And she's really pushed me to go beyond where I was, to become better at my job, to become better as an individual. And she has been a great mentor for me. Our current assistant principal over athletics is Mr. Gary Buell. He's constant voice, I think, daily, and what can you do better? How can you reevaluate this process? How can you reevaluate this procedure? What can we do to provide the best experience possible for all of our stakeholders? And then also, I can't go without mentioning another former AD, Ron Allen, who is in Citrus County at Lecanto High School. He is just a wealth of knowledge for me. He's part of our conference. He is involved heavily in the FHSAA and the FIAAA. He has just been a huge help for me. Anytime I have questions, concerns, anything like that, I know I can pick up the phone and call him. He's going to be there. He's going to, he just has a love and a passion for athletics that you don't really see in a whole lot of people. So it is great. He's never lost that, and it's evident in everything he does. And he's been kind of a silent one, but able to answer questions, but he has been a mentor for me, and I greatly appreciate what he's helped me in the past 12 years to accomplish.
I love the shout out to Ron. Ron was one of our earlier guests on the podcast, and he's on our FIAAA board, so I can definitely attest to all those things you said about Ron. Kristin, you've had a chance to see some pretty impressive programs around the country, collegiately, and I know you do some great things there at Nature Coast. I'm curious, what are some things, maybe even just one thing, that in looking at your program from afar, objectively, what are some things that you feel your coaches really do a great job with? You can look at that and say, boy, we really hit it out of the park.
It's hard to narrow it down to one thing. I think our coaches do a very good job overall, but I would say one of the things that is really strong here at Nature Coast is the relationship with our athletes. They build great relationships so that they can mentor the kids and help them, not just athletically, but academically as well. And there's a big focus on that. And I strongly believe that our coaches do a very good job of leading these young men and young women in more than just the athletics to be successful outside of just your sport.
Well, that's always great to hear. Now I'm going to kind of put you on the spot. What's something that, your coaches, they're doing a good job, but you mentioned how your principal was challenging you to grow. What's something you're challenging your coaches as a staff, as a department, to get even better than they are right now?
I'm going to say the organization side of things. We work on that. I feel like I've been working on that for years, and I feel like it just continues to be something that we work on. And I say that in the aspect of the organizational side of things because technology has changed so much and the way we communicate has changed. And so there's so much more to, your organization than just getting information out. It's also providing the information through social media. It's, being available to people. It's all of those things that require you to have time management, to have organization with your paperwork, making sure that you have your stuff together in order to be the best coach that you can be. And I think that's something that we constantly work on around here, but I do think that they do a good job, and we have some that are very, very strong in that. So I don't want to say that they don't, but that is something I think that we are constantly working on.
Absolutely. And it's, an expression that I've used for many, many years. I didn't invent it, but I've used it with our coaches is, this process, this journey of good to great, we can always do better. So, these are things that we're trying to improve on. Let's go and jump right into COVID. As we've met with athletic directors since we started the podcast, we've seen a wide variety of responses across the country. Some states are completely shut down in athletics still. And for our listeners, we're recording this at the end of October. Other states is business as usual, virtually no adjustments, and then everything in between. In Florida, where Kristin and I are, we delayed fall sports for a month, and then schools were allowed to start up. Some schools, went full speed pretty much, and others are just now getting back on campus. So, Kristin, what's happening at Nature Coast, Hernando County, as far as return to school as well as return to play?
Well, it's been an interesting few months, I guess you could say, with opening up. What we did in the fall, we were constantly changing things in Hernando County, and but we started out with, when we opened up fall sports, we started later than most places. But what we did is we only focused on our conference. We have the CAA Gulf Coast 8. It consists of Citrus County and Hernando County schools. And we only allowed our teams to play those schools, to restrict travel, because at the time, both of us had a travel restriction within our county. And the ADs in those counties, all 7 of us, or 8 of us, we would meet regularly. We developed schedules. We developed restrictions of, when teams can be in locker rooms and, where teams are going to exit and enter from, and all those kind of things. But it was a restriction that we definitely had to work through. It was something that was different. And with the constant changes around us from other counties and us being a little more restrictive than most, it did bring about some definite challenges, but I will say that overall, I think it was the right thing to do. We have, at Nature Coast, we've only had one sport that had to cancel some contests due to COVID. And I feel like that was, a testament to what we did there. The other thing that it brought about was restrictions as far as capacity size for events on campus, as well as ticketing, learning new platforms. But we started out at 25% capacity. We've now gone to 35%, and we'll be going to 50% this week, actually. So, we're seeing that change. We're seeing that growth through this. I would say that a lot of positive things have come out of this that people don't even realize. For one, how we have all been able to work together as ADs, learn about each other, and just develop a plan that we developed it as ADs. And then we shared it with our county ADs, had it approved by our school boards. We were the ones that went to our school boards, presented things, and gave them the information. So there was a lot of growth through this too, I think, for all of us as athletic directors. And like I said, we are seeing those changes. We're starting to open up a little bit more. And I think that, we just have to remember to stay cautious and proactive with things. And as we go on and as we continue to open up, and I think the biggest thing, if I could bring anything to this, is that you have to stay positive. It's easy to be negative with COVID and with what's going on and the restrictions, but there's something positive to be seen. And I believe that attitude of positivity is something that has helped get us through. And I really do believe that we've grown through it as athletic directors. Even our student athletes, they're very aware of what they need to do. And our coaches have done a great job of challenging our student athletes to stay, within our restrictions and to accept them. And for that, I'm very grateful.
I think that's such a great perspective about, staying positive. I mean, COVID's here, we can't do anything about it. So let's be positive. Just a great attitude. I'm going to guess your stakeholders, your parents, your community members have been accepting because of that positive attitude?
They have been accepting, yes. I mean, obviously, we, just like everybody, have had our issues with some that don't, want to be as compliant. However, I would say that 98% of our stakeholders have been very, very compliant, very accepting, understanding, very supportive in what we are doing. And for that, I am just extremely grateful, because it has led to not as many headaches, not as many issues as you would expect. So that has been something that I really didn't know what would happen, to be honest with you. I won't lie, I went into this thing with like, oh Lord, how are we going to get through all this? And what are our stakeholders going to say? But they have embraced it, and they really have helped us to maintain our restrictions and to, allow for things to start opening up a little bit better, a little bit more.
Well, I always like to say it starts with leadership. So, keep up the good work down there.
Thank you.
Another question that we've been asking our EDs, when we started these podcasts a few months ago, the events of Minneapolis and Atlanta, we're still, very, very fresh. A month or so ago, we had the event in Wisconsin. And so this idea of, social awareness, social justice, very important. And my question is this, what are some things that we can do as athletic directors in this area? What can we do better to meet the needs of our community, of our stakeholders in the area of social awareness?
I think the first thing is just building relationships with our stakeholders. And you have to build those relationships to know and to understand your issues that are currently around us. And I think the other thing is that you really need to be aware, and awareness is half the battle, because if you are aware and you build these relationships, then you will learn how to work with people and how to understand the social issues that are in front of us, and be able to promote within your athletic department a positive atmosphere for all, an open atmosphere for everybody, so that we all are involved and we all are able to participate. We're able to bring something to the table because we all do have something to bring to the table. And even our parents have something to bring to the table. You know, our team doctor, everyone does. And I think that that is something that we have to practice, is awareness of what is around us and building those relationships so that we are able to understand what we are learning and work with it, and really have an open policy for these people, for everybody, have an open policy for participation, for your stakeholders. I mean, we want as many people as we can to be involved in what we are doing and to help us to learn through our community members.
Great stuff. Really appreciate you sharing that view. Let's go and lighten things up a little bit. I always ask our ADs, you know, what's your favorite part of the job? And for a while, you know, they were all saying, and as they should, oh, it's the kids, the relationships with the kids. And, you know, of course that's true. Beyond that, you know, what are some of your favorite parts of being the athletic director at Nature Coast? What gets you excited about coming to school each day?
There's a lot of, I think, exciting things around here that's going on. But for me, the biggest thing is to remember my why. Why am I doing this? What, you know, what drives me to do this? And yes, a big part of that is the relationships with the students, to see their excitement when they, you know, are participating in a game. Even the student that's, you know, kind of doesn't get in very many games, and then they get in a game and they're super excited. You know, that is definitely a positive thing. But the other part of it is you see growth in the coaches and growth in myself. And I think that that is something that just drives me every day to come and to make sure, you know, to be here. I don't want to miss, because I think that every day we're learning something new. And I really do believe that when you see that in people through the coaches, the growth, it's just amazing. And it's something that is one of my whys. And I think you can't lose focus of why, is remembering that why. And I think that is what drives me, is the why I do this.
Very, very cool. Okay. Well, Kristin, this has been really cool. I don't get to see as much as we used to, but it's always great talking with you, but we're not done yet.
Okay.
We always like to wrap up with what we call the new athletic director's toolbox. You're certainly a veteran athletic director, but right now I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new AD on their very first job, but I'm only going to let you put 3 things into their toolbox. What 3 items are going to go in Kristin Peeples' athletic director toolbox?
I'm going to go back to some of the things I've already said. And the first thing is relationships. Build them. Not only within your school, your student athletes, your coaches, your administrators, but outside of there. Build a network. You just build relationships with people, because you never know who you're going to need, first of all, and who can help you get to that next level, to that next step. I think that if I can encourage them to do anything, it's build relationships, even outside of their comfort zone, because I'm not a very outgoing person. I have learned that over the years of, you know, how to do that. And that is something I think that has helped me grow. The other thing I would say is be present, be there, you know, let people see you, let them see you enthusiastic about what you're doing. You know, I think that you just have to be present for people, be available for them, make time. And again, that probably goes back to the relationships, but even with your parents in the stands, you know, let them know that you're invested just as much as they are. So I think that that's huge. And the last thing I would say, and going back to the other thing, is remember your why. Stay positive because of that. And I think that if you can remember your why, what's driving you to be the best you can be, I think that it'll take you very far, because let's face it, this job can be very draining at points. It can be negative, but if you can always go back to your why, I think it brings out the best in you as an individual. And it also allows others to see that it's going to be okay. And we're going to get through the tough times, and we're able to build on those things. So I would say those 3 things: relationships, being present, and then staying positive. through your why, like remembering your why.
Great advice. I really love that toolbox. Okay. Kristin, thank you so much for taking some time to be on the podcast. Looking forward to seeing you again, hopefully before our state conference in May.
Yes.
Figure out a way to get together.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I greatly appreciate it. And best of luck to everyone listening, because we will get through this year. And it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again. To our listeners, as Kristin said, stay safe, stay healthy. Thanks as always for tuning in. Remember, these interviews are also being posted on the FHSAA Educational Athletic Director YouTube channel. Come back again next time for another edition of the Educational AD.